Hello and welcome to WeShape's Stronger Core Movement session. Today, Coach Tyler will guide you through a series of core moves that will then be combined into a follow-along workout. Remember, you are the only expert of your body, so be sure to listen to its cues and only go as far as you are safely able to do so. Before we get started, take a moment to grab a yoga mat, a sturdy chair, or any similar support, and keep some water nearby. Make sure you're comfortable and have space to move freely. Prepare to follow along and take notes if it helps. So let's jump in.
Hello, and welcome to our Stronger Core Movement session. My name is Coach Tyler from WeShape, and I will be your host today. And I'm excited today because I'm going to talk to you about your core, which is a very misunderstood term in the fitness industry. You see, most people, when they think about their core, they're thinking about their ab muscles, right? These muscles that run up and down the front side of your stomach. Those are the muscles that everybody wants to reveal by doing tons of cardio and diets and things like that. And if that's why you're here, well, that's not what we're going to cover today. We're going to cover how to strengthen your core so that you can do more with your body, so you can move more freely, so you can have less pain, more strength, and you can have more movement freedom in your daily life. Because there's a principle in training that's called core to extremity, okay? And this is why core strength is so important. Because what this principle means is that before I go to move my arm, to pick up a glass of water, to do anything, before I move any of my limbs, the first thing to fire and stabilize is my core, okay? And what that means is if you don't have a strong core, or if you don't have a stable core, then when you go to do things with your arms and your legs, you might end up hurting yourself, which is often the common reason people suffer from back pain, hip pain, upper back pain, bad posture, neck pain, shoulder pain, etc. So a strong, coordinated core is essential to feeling better in your body. And that's what we're all about at WeShape. Because I know what it's like to feel lousy in my body. In fact, my journey started after getting hit by a car and destroying my knee and spending time in a wheelchair. And then you know what happened? I went out and I started trying to do the same old routines in the gym, doing leg extensions on the leg extension machine, hitting the treadmill, and guess what? Everything hurt. And that's what drove me to learn some of the things that I'm going to teach you today. Because the reality is, if you don't know how to move your body the right way, you're slowly hurting yourself. And eventually, you're going to find yourself in a position where you're like, everything hurts, and I can't do the things I want to do again. But there's good news. You can turn that around, okay? And it starts by learning how to move your body better. Because when you move your body better, you feel better in your body. So today, I'm going to focus on first teaching you about the core, very briefly. Don't worry, it's not going to be a long lecture about the core. And then we're going to go through all of my favorite core movements. I'm going to give you 4 variations of each one from beginner to advanced. And then we're going to go through a follow-along workout together. I'm literally going to take you through it right on this live right now in order to strengthen your core and help you feel stronger and more stable again. And you can come back to this video and try that core routine again afterwards as well. So stick around, make sure you stay till the very end, and make sure you get ready to actually move along with me, because the goal of this isn't for you to watch and learn about the core and just watch me move my body, but it's to actually have you get up and move your body too, okay? So before I dive into a little bit more information about the core, because I really want to teach you why the core is, how it functions, and some of these mistakes that people make, right? But I also want to teach you how I found this out, because there was a time when I wanted the same thing as a lot of people, which is I want to see my abs, right? And so what did I do? I did what a lot of people did. I started doing crunches and sit-ups. And I started increasing the volume. So how many crunches can I do every single day? And I got it to the point where I was doing a couple hundred crunches at a time. And I said to myself one day, I'm going to do 1,000 crunches. Because if I do 1,000 crunches, of course, I'm going to reveal my abs, right? You know what happened? After doing 1,000 crunches, I had rubbed the skin off of my tailbone and my lower back, and I had a big scab on there for several days. My core muscles were really sore, but guess what hurt the next day? My neck and my shoulders and my traps, because I was doing this motion over and over again. So if you're doing things like crunches and sit-ups, I'm here to tell you, this is not the road to a stronger core. It's not going to serve you. And if you're doing things like seeing how many repetitions you can do, that's not the best way to train your core. It's not really the best way to train any of your body. the best way to actually train your body, if you want to feel good in your body, is to start with moves that build a strong foundation, that help you learn how to activate the right muscles and help you learn how to move the right way. And then over time, slowly progress to more challenging and complicated movements that require more strength, flexibility, balance, and coordination. And when you do this, what happens is you not only get stronger, you also get more flexible, you have better balance, you're more coordinated, and all of that means you being able to do what you want to do with your body for as long as possible. Okay? And today I'm going to show you some of these progressions in this live core session. Okay? So I want to start out by going over the 3 big mistakes that everybody makes, because this is such a common thing that people make these mistakes, and I want to make sure that you don't make them anymore. Okay? The first one, we already talked about a little bit, but it's the focus on your abs, these rectus abdominis muscles right here, these muscles that run vertically like this. So when we do flexion and extension of the spine, those are the muscles we train, so crunches and sit-ups and stuff like that, right? Now, not only will you skin the backside of your body if you keep doing repetitions of these things, especially high repetitions, but science has actually found that repetitive flexion and extension of the spine can wear down these discs inside your spine and cause pain inside the nerves of your back. So if you're doing this and you have lower back pain, this could even be the cause of lower back pain in the first place. So stop focusing on the rectus abdominis, because this doesn't really do much to stabilize your body, right? They run vertical like this and they pull your core like this. All right, if I told you to wrap a ACE bandage around your body to create stability, would you wrap it through your legs and over your shoulders and around like this? Probably not, right? You'd wrap it horizontally around your waist like this. We'll get to that in just one sec, but really, see these muscles that run horizontally, real deep inside the core, okay? These are the muscles that we really want to be focusing on when it comes to strengthening our core so that we can have a more stable core and do the movements we want to do, all right? So quit focusing on your abs and realize your core is your chest all the way down to your hips on the front side and the back side of your body, okay? So we're going to work all those muscles today, all right? The second thing, abs are made in the kitchen. How many times has everybody heard this statement? Abs are made in the kitchen, right? Now, if we're talking about burning belly fat, yes, your diet is going to be the main reason you're going to burn belly fat. But if you don't do abs, if you don't work your core, they're not going to get strong. Therefore, they are not made in the kitchen, okay? Your core is strengthened by doing routines, by practicing movement, by doing the things that I'm going to teach you about today. So stop repeating that abs are made in the kitchen thing, right? It's not accurate. We want to work our core no matter who we are, especially if we have aches, pains, or injuries, if we're over 50 and we want to protect our back, we want to protect our spine and make our body feel so much better. All right, and the third thing that I really want people to stop telling me to do, and it drives me nuts, especially this happens in Pilates a lot. I'm not bashing on Pilates, but their main focus is draw in your belly, so suck your belly in order to activate your transverse abdominis, this little muscle way deep in there. Now, while drawing in does activate the transverse abdominis, it doesn't do what's called abdominal bracing, okay? And there's a very big difference, right? I would like you to think about it like this. If somebody were to walk up to you and they were to go like this and punch you in the stomach, would you want to suck your belly in like this, or would you want to brace for impact like this? The answer is very simple. If you suck your belly in when doing that, it's going to hurt. It's not going to feel good. But if you brace, then it's going to be stable. And the reason why is while drawing in does strengthen and activate the transverse abdominis, bracing activates the pelvic floor, the diaphragm, the internal obliques, the transverse abdominis, and creates a giant amount of compression inside the core. When this happens, it lengthens our spine, stabilizes our spine from twisting and going side to side and forward and backwards, and protects our spine all at the same time. It makes us stronger too. So the first thing I want to teach you right now is a movement that at WeShape we call the elevator. Now, in the workouts that our members do, we teach this every single day. So every single time you come and show up to do a workout, we make sure you practice the elevator. So I want to show you how to do this in a few steps, because this is not a traditional core move. This is a core movement that helps develop better mind-muscle connection. If we have strong mind-muscle connection, then guess what happens? We're able to fire those muscles more effectively. And if we're able to fire those muscles more effectively, well, then we're going to have more strength and more safety in every movement we do in our daily life. So practice this movement right now, and then when we get down and start doing the core movements, then you're going to want to try to use this type of abdominal bracing while doing these core moves, okay? So why I call this the elevator is because these are the people and they're on your belly, and we're going to push the people up with the elevator, which is your belly. I'd normally be lying down, but I'll teach you in a standing position. So between your belly button and your hip on both sides, I want you to take 2 fingers, push them right there into that fleshy spot right there. You should be able to push your fingers in, okay? Now the first thing we're going to want to do is take a big breath in, push those fingers out with the strength of our core muscles. And very importantly, and this was a question from Deb Fry, one of our registrants from beforehand, if you're working on the pelvic floor too, you want to make sure that you activate your pelvic floor by squeezing your rectal sphincter, which is the muscle that causes you to stop urination from happening. So if you don't know how to do this, just imagine stopping a pee stream and squeezing that muscle while pushing the fingers out. So fingers out, pee stream stopped. Now we've got pelvic floor tight, internal obliques tight, transverse abdominis tight, diaphragm tight. We've got a nice container to keep our spine safe and keep our core nice and strong. Now for a lot of people, when they're practicing the elevator, what will happen is this. Big breath in, and then as soon as they exhale, it goes down. That's totally fine. What that means is you don't have a good mind-muscle connection with all those muscles. You're not able to coordinate those muscles effectively in your core. So at first, practice it by taking big breaths in and holding that tension, and then exhale, and it's okay if it goes away a little bit. Take another big breath in, hold that tension, repeat, and do that throughout this workout along with the breathing patterns that we're going to talk about on all these movements, okay? And then the second piece of this is, if you're able to, you could take more shallow breaths. So not exhaling all the way, taking more shallow breaths while keeping the fingers pushed out. And the ultimate goal is over the course of many months, because again, this is rebuilding your nerves that connect with these muscles. When we go push our belly out, we want to be able to exhale. We want to be able to move. We want to be able to twist. We want to be able to maintain that core tension that you get from the elevator when we're doing anything, especially when we're bending forward to pick stuff up off the ground, because that's the #1 time people injure their back. So try to maintain the elevator throughout. If you're feeling like you're not able to figure this out, one of the easiest ways to do this is to cough and hold the cough like that. Or when you're doing any one of these moves, you can go inhale on the way down, exhale, and let it relax on the way up, okay? So don't beat yourself up over this. It takes time, but just try to be aware that drawing in isn't going to get you anywhere. Bracing and doing this elevator move is what will actually keep your core super safe and strong, all right? Now, the next thing I want to focus on is this. There are so many core movements out there that focus on moving forward and backwards. We already talked about this being not really a good idea for how to train the core. So what is the purpose of the core, all right? And that's why I brought my skelly over here, my skeleton. This spine right here is supported by the core, from the pelvis all the way to the top of the neck, okay? And there's muscles on the front side of your core that run this way, muscles on the sides that run this way, muscles on the back that run this way, and they allow you to go from side to side and front to back, and more importantly, to stabilize your spine in all those motions. Because what people don't realize is the core isn't necessarily there to help you flex and extend, but rather to maintain stability. So if you pick something heavy up and you walk with it, now you're stable. If you're going to walk up and down stairs or run up and down stairs, you're stable. You shouldn't be wobbling and moving from side to side. And so being able to integrate all these core muscles at the same time, it's almost like a boat with a mast, right? And if we have a boat with a mast and some cables tied to it, then that mast stays connected to the boat, just like the pelvis stays connected to the spine. But if I cut one of those strings, if I break that mast in half, then what happens? All the wiggly movement happens, and then what happens? We end up injuring our backs. Again, this is the #1 injury that we see. And so having a strong core and learning how to do this is really helpful. So what does that mean? That means instead of training this one range of motion, forward and backward, right? This is called the sagittal plane, which is strengthened by these muscles and these muscles right here. We want to strengthen all 3 planes of motion. #1, we want to strengthen that sagittal plane, forward and backward, but in a different way. Instead of extending and flexing our spine, we want to maintain rigidity against load coming forward and backwards. And you don't have to figure out what all this means, but you'll see in the moves that will maintain that rigidity. I'll teach you how to activate more than just these muscles. I'll teach you how to activate all the muscles from the armpits all the way into the obliques, all the way down into the hips, okay? And the second plane of motion we want to focus on is the lateral plane. So not only do we want to be able to stabilize forward and backward like this, we also want to be able to stabilize side to side like this. So I'll be teaching you my favorite move and variations to stabilize the side of the body too. Finally, there's a type of movement called the transverse plane. The transverse plane is the rotational plane like this. And this is probably the most important plane of motion for the core that nobody really actually works on all that much, to be honest. And so I'm going to show you a move that's going to help you with the transverse plane as well. And this is going to be incredibly helpful because when you have a strong core in the transverse plane, now things can't pull you and rotate you at the same time, which again is the #1 cause of causing back pain in the first place. So we're going to work on all 3 planes of motion, okay? And one final thing while we're here, and then we're going to drop down and we're going to get started on these movements, okay? I want you to ask your questions in the comments as I'm going through each one of these moves. So here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to go through all of the moves that I'm about to teach you today. There's 4 different moves I'm going to teach you. I'm going to teach you 4 different variations of each move as well, starting at beginner and working towards advanced. If throughout this you have questions that relate to this move, how do I do this? How do I do that? Is this move good for this? Is this move good for that? Post them in the comments. My team's watching the comments. They're going to pull great questions out, and they're going to ask me at the end of each one. I do want to tell you something, though. Ask clear, concise questions with enough information for me to answer them. If you're like, my core's weak, what should I do? I'm not going to be able to do anything for you, okay? But if you're like, hey, my left SI joint hurts, should I be able to do this movement, or how could I accommodate doing this movement? Then I can answer that question, all right? So the more details, the better. Just be clear about the question, and that'll give my team a clear sign to grab that question and pull it in, okay? So let's get started moving, shall we? Yeah? Sounds good. Okay, so here's what we're going to do. We're going to start out today by focusing on my #1 core move that I give absolutely everybody, okay? And there's 4 different variations of this move, so I invite you to follow along with me. Find a space on the floor. If you have a hard time getting down on the floor too, you can do this one in a couch or even in your bed as well, because it's a lying core movement. And I'm going to show you again 4 levels of each movement, and this is important because the levels are the progression to generate more strength, flexibility, balance, and coordination. At WeShape, we don't focus on how many more minutes you can do. It's not like I did 30 minutes of cardio today and now I do 60 and that's an improvement. It's literally, I did this movement, level 1, and then I did level 2. Oh, wow, that was harder. Then I did level 3, and then you don't have to go more time. It's more about coordination and strength and flexibility and balance, okay? So I'm going to drop down to the floor, and we're going to talk about my #1 core movement, which is a leg raise progression, okay? Now, if you're a complete beginner, I want you to start out with this variation, which is going to be the active alternating reverse crunch, okay? So start by pressing your lower back into the ground. This is important, okay? So if you see my back get off the ground, I can fit my fingers under here. On all these variations, when we're in this back to the ground position, I want your lower back pushing the ground and your pelvis tucked. So your pelvis rotates like this, lower back pushes in the ground. That maintains that core stability, okay? From there, palms toward the sky, shoulders away from ears, so push your fingertips away from ears, bring both legs up. Then we're going to inhale, do the elevator, tighten the core, drop one heel, come back up. Inhale down, exhale up, just like this, okay? Now, for some people, this will be really easy. For others, this could be a little bit hard. So find, if this feels like a good variation for you, then during the follow-along workout, then this is totally fine, okay? If you can do this fairly easy, then the next level up is going to be the 90-degree reverse crunch, okay? So from here, we're going to do palms toward the sky, bring the legs together, lower back pushing the ground, and then we're going to drop the heels down and lift them back up, just like this. Inhaling down, exhaling up. Now, how you know that you're going too far too fast, meaning scaling up too fast, is if I come down and I feel my lower back start to lift, even if I feel it just losing a little bit of pressure on the ground, then this is probably not the variation for you. Maybe you need to go backwards, scale down to the last variation instead. Now, if you're able to do this and you're like, oh, this is pretty easy as well, then let's scale up to the next variation, which is going to be leg raises with hands under your butt, okay? So we're going to shift the hands on this one. We're going to put a diamond in our hands like this. We're going to put that diamond right underneath our tailbone, which helps encourage our pelvis to tilt upwards. Press the lower back on the ground. And this time, I'm going to straighten my legs, squeeze my legs together, point my toes, and I'm going to keep my lower back pushing the ground as I bring my legs down, almost all the way down, and then exhale as I come up. Again, inhaling down, exhaling up, just like this, okay? Now, if you can do, say, maybe 10 or 15 of these and it feels good, then we're going to do the last variation, which is the V-up. Woo! The V-up is one of my favorite core moves, and this is actually one of gymnasts' favorite core moves overall, and we all know that gymnasts have the strongest cores. So check this one out. It's arms overhead, lower back pushing the ground, pelvis tucked. That's what's called the hollow position. Then we're going to inhale, and we're going to exhale as we explode up to our toes with our arms, try to find balance at the top, and then come back down. So it looks like this. I'm going to be here. I'm going to inhale, inhale here, exhale here, and repeat, just like that. Trying to find balance and control as I come up and down, okay? So there are the 4 levels of the leg raise. We've got, oh, beautiful, thank you, Ben. We've got our alternating leg raises over here. We've got our 90-degree reverse crunch here, hands under butt leg raises here, and the V-ups over here. Remember these 4 moves, but pick the one that feels like the best fit for you. And this will be important when we get to the follow along workout, okay? So now that we've got my favorite core move that everyone should be doing, let's focus on the sides of the body, because I talked about being able to stabilize the lateral plane. But first, we got a question. Let's make sure we answer that question first.
Will people with ACL, meniscus tear, arthritis be able to do this?
Great question. So will people with ACL, meniscus tear, or arthritis be able to do these? That's a great question. If you have any sort of injuries to your knees, you should be able to do these movements. Now, I'm not your doctor, obviously. Make sure you get approval by your doctor and whatnot. But the biggest thing you might face is that in the higher levels, like the level 3 and 4 I just showed you, where your legs are more straight, that might cause a little bit of knee strain or possibly a little bit of patellofemoral pain right on the top of the knee. If that happens, then what you can do for those movements is you can simply bend the knees slightly like this, and hopefully that will make it feel a whole lot better, okay? Another thing too is in this bent position right here, we want to maintain active quads. So we don't want to just be passive here. We want to almost imagine like we're going to extend our legs out. So I think bringing your toes towards your nose here could be really helpful to get your tibialis and your quads a little more active, which again might help stabilize the knee joint a little bit more and make the knee feel a whole lot better. So yes, you should be able to do these with knee issues and ACL issues, but you should also be working on those issues too, okay? So make sure you check out a lot of our other content. I've had 5 knee surgeries and we've made a ton of content about knee pain to help people out, so check that out too. All right, let's dive into the lateral plane, stabilizing our body side to side, okay? Now this is important because if I go pick up a grocery bag and I walk with it in one arm, I'm not gonna let my body go to the side while I walk like this and I move like this, right? That's gonna cause me to get injured. Yet that's what most people do when they're holding something in one side of their body. When you have strong obliques and you work on stabilizing the lateral plane, not through movement, but through what I'm about to teach you, then you go pick up the grocery bag and everything stays in the center. And when it stays in the center, it's much, much safer, okay? So this movement is gonna all be based around a movement called the side plank, all right? And we're gonna start in a standing position, and you're gonna need a chair or a countertop or something to help support you, all right? So grab a chair, find a good position, make sure it's nice and sturdy. I wanna make sure that this chair isn't sliding out on you, okay? So it needs to be nice and sturdy chair. Okay, so what we're gonna focus on first is what's called a high chair side plank, and it's gonna give me a good opportunity to teach you how to do this move with good form. So hand on the chair like this. This can, again, can be a countertop, can be the back of a couch, something that's just below hip height, okay? And what you're gonna do is walk your feet out a little bit, however much you feel comfortable, and then try to make a nice straight line between your ankles, your knees, your hips, your chest, all the way through the top of your head. So nice straight line, okay? Now in this position, you might just feel like, I'm leaning to the side, what am I doing? And this is where this next move comes into play. This is really important, okay? You need to grab your hand and imagine trying to pull the chair, the surface, the hand, whatever. Grab whatever you're doing. Imagine trying to pull it towards your thigh like this. This one move changes the way this movement feels immensely. And it makes it really about lats and obliques and core all the way down, instead of what most people do when they hold a side plank is they push their arm up, which will strain your shoulders and strain your neck, okay? So don't make that mistake. Everybody makes that mistake. Instead, find the position and then drag your hand towards your thigh. You can barely see me doing this movement, but the moment I do this, my core muscles go crazy. And all we're gonna do in this is hold that position while we breathe and relax and try to maintain the elevator lift inside of our stomach like we talked about earlier on, okay? Now, if this feels super easy for you, you're like, okay, I feel the lat activating, it doesn't feel all that hard, then one of the easiest ways to scale up a movement like this is to turn the chair around and change the angle of the body by changing the height of the surface, okay? So what we're gonna do here is we're gonna do a low chair side plank, where we're gonna bring our hand down to the chair, just like before, make sure it's nice and stable and sturdy. We're gonna bring our feet out, and what we can do is we can stack our feet, or stagger our feet like this, or stack our feet like that. This is easier from a balance perspective. You're gonna squeeze your glutes and core, and you're gonna try to find yourself in a straight line between your ankles, hips, all the way through the top of your head, and you're gonna imagine dragging your hand towards your side. Ugh! And immediately when we drag our hand towards our side, all these muscles should be firing like crazy. And our breathing pattern is just shallow inhale, shallow exhale. And what's so powerful about this move, dragging the hand towards the side in a side plank, is that we basically end up making the movement a lot harder, but it's gonna make you a whole lot stronger, a whole lot safer, and a whole lot more stable in the long run. So don't scale up to this variation or the next 2 variations I'm gonna teach you, unless it feels like you can really, really, really get that part of the motion down, the dragging the hand towards the thigh, okay? So if this still felt too easy for you, the next variation up, we're going to bring it down to the ground. It's called the kneeling side plank. I'm going to show you two different variations of the kneeling side plank just in case you have any issues with your wrists as well. So for the kneeling side plank, I'm going to stack my knees. I'm going to put my hand underneath my shoulder. I'm going to lift my hips up like this, straight line again, squeeze my glutes, drive them forward, right? I even try to drive this elbow backwards. It helps with posture, okay? Now in this position, what we want to do is drag the hand towards the thigh again, and get that active muscles right here. Now, if for some reason you're having wrist issues, one of the best ways to tackle that, come down to the forearm like this, come back up to the side plank like this, and then instead of dragging your hand towards your thigh, you're dragging your elbow towards your ribs like this to generate that same tension in your lats and in your obliques that we're really after in the side plank motion, okay? If this still feels easy for you, the final variation I want to teach you is just the side plank, the old side plank. But again, I don't see anybody teaching this movement while dragging your hand towards your leg. Literally, I've never seen anybody talk about that on social media, and it drives me crazy because, again, most people when they hold the side plank, they're pushing their arm up like this, using their shoulder and their neck, instead of the intention, which is lats, serratus, obliques, etc. So holding this side plank, this variation, either staggered feet, or if you want to make it a little harder, stack the feet up like this. Now drag the hand back towards you, and immediately this will be the hardest side plank you've ever done. And we're going to have to be able to hold this for 40 seconds. So don't go to this variation unless you're sure you're 100% comfortable with that. Now, we're going to teach both the left side in the workout and the right side in the workout. So pick a variation that feels like the right fit for both sides of your body. You can start with the high chair version. You can do the low chair version. You can do the kneeling version, or you can do the full version during the workout routine, okay? So that's what we have for my second favorite core move. I've got two more core moves for you, and then we're going to break into this 10-minute follow-along core workout. But it looks like we got some questions, so I want to make sure we answer them before we move on so you guys are getting your questions answered in real time.
Back to the last one, they asked about hip click.
Hip click. Woo! Okay, so this is not for the side plank. This is going back to the leg raises, okay? One of the most common things that people experience when doing a leg raise is the inevitable hip pop. And so what that means is if I'm doing a leg raise like this, my legs come down, clunk, my hip pops as my legs reach towards the ground, okay? So there's a couple things you want to focus on here. One is you want to focus on hip external rotation. Okay, so if you're doing the 90-degree position, instead of bringing your knees together like this, I want you to drive your knees apart like this, so creating a lot of space between the knees. And then when you come up and down, the hip external rotators get involved, create space inside the hip capsule, and oftentimes that popping and clicking will go away. And if you're scaling up and you're doing more variations like the straight leg variation, instead of squeezing the knees together like this, we want to do the same thing. Almost imagine turning your toes outward like this. We're trying to turn the legs outward similarly to the way we're driving our knees out. So external rotation, come down, come back up, and oftentimes that can eliminate the hip pop as well. Often what will happen is as you learn this trick of hip external rotation causing the hip capsule to stop popping, what will happen is you'll do a few good reps, and then you'll do like a rep pop, oh, I lost it, right? So another thing to manage is the range of motion. So instead of maybe going all the way down on every single rep, go down slowly, external rotation, turning the toes outward, go down as slow as you can, and then come back up, going through a range of motion where your hip doesn't pop. So you're taking your time to really feel, when am I losing my ability to stabilize my core and keep my hip muscles activated at the same time? So try that out, externally rotating the hips, really focusing on pushing that lower back into the ground, and then minimizing the range of motion a little bit, and you'll probably find a way that your body will stop causing that hip to pop, okay? Give that a shot. It's worked for a lot of people that I've worked with, and it's really cool to see that happen pretty instantaneously. All right, any other questions for the moves here, or are we good? All right, let's move on to the next one. Now we're gonna focus on your back muscles, okay? So when we talk about the core, a lot of people focus on the muscles that you feel on the front side. They think this is the core. But again, the back is incredibly important when it comes to strengthening all your core. So this is going to be a progression focused around a movement called the Superman. And we're going to start in a seated position, okay? So to start this movement, you're going to bring your butt right to the edge of a chair, and you're going to bring your knees slightly outside of hip width, toes turned outward. And I like to be really detailed here. Your knees, your thigh bones should be pointing the same direction as your toes. So if you find yourself with your toes out and your knees in, or your toes in and your knees out, right, that's not good alignment. Good alignment means a body that feels good. So let's go toes slightly outward, knees going the same direction as the toes. Now from there, what we're going to do is bring our belly button between our thighs, okay? And we're going to do this without rounding our back. So this isn't a rounded back move like this. This is everything stays upright from the tailbone to the top of the head. We bend forward until we feel tension in our hamstrings or until we still feel like we're about to bend forward. Then we bring our hands in front of us just like this. And what we're going to do is stay tall to the top of the head. So don't go like this. Tall to the top of the head, like pushing my head towards the sky. Then thumbs backwards, and we're bringing my arms overhead. Hold for a second, and come back down. Now, as you're doing this, what you're going to feel is all the muscles in between your shoulder blades on the back side of your shoulders, even down your lower back, are going to be firing like crazy. Again, the purpose of those muscles is to prevent me from pulling forward into this rounded position, right? And that's important. If I go to pick something up and I have a nice flat back, and then I pull it and it's really heavy and I do this, and I pull into this position, now I've just put my spine in a bad position. We don't want to do that, okay? We want to maintain that nice, rigid, straight spine as we learn to move our bodies better, okay? So this is the first variation, the seated bent Superman raise. It's a pretty simple variation that most people can do. If that felt like it was easy enough for you and you had good range of motion, not like here, right? We want to make sure you have good range of motion in your shoulders. The next variation we can do is the standing 45-degree Superman raises, okay? So this time, we're going to stand up. We're going to turn to the side. I'm going to take my feet right outside of hip width, toes slightly turned outward. I'm going to hinge through the hips like this. I'm going to bring my hands right out front, just like I was doing before. And this time, I'm going to bring my arms overhead and lift them as high as I can and squeeze all those muscles and then come back down, just like that. Inhaling up, squeezing all those muscles for a second and coming back down, just like that, okay? So this is a fantastic variation that makes it a little bit harder, but it's something that also is pretty manageable for a lot of people. Now, if both of those are feeling too easy for you, then the next thing we're going to want to focus on is doing some floor movements that are going to make this a lot harder, but really work those muscles a whole lot more. And they'll also incorporate a lot more of your glutes being activated, which is really important. So for this one, we're going to come down to the floor. Again, if you can do that, you can do this one from a chair or a couch or a bed or something more comfortable like that if you can't get down to the floor, okay? We're going to do a Superman raise, but this time we're going to do the Superman raise with our arms at 45 degrees, okay? Or bent arms, 90 degrees, sorry. So arms like this, thumbs toward the sky, arms are at 90 degrees, my head is towards the ground. What I'm going to do is squeeze my butt, squeeze my shoulder blades, squeeze my back. I'm going to lift up, hold for a second, and come back down. I'm going to inhale as I go up, lift up, squeeze the shoulder blades together, drive the thumbs backwards like this as much as possible, and come down. Such a great move for helping with everything, external rotation of the shoulders, strength of the glutes, the lower back, etc. Okay? Now, if that feels too easy for you, the final variation of the Superman is going to be the full Superman lift. So it's going to be arms out, thumbs toward the sky, reaching as far away from our toes as possible. And then we're going to squeeze those glutes, lift our arms up, and come into full extension, just like that. Inhaling up, exhaling down, just like that. Okay? So those are the 4 variations of the Superman working on the posterior chain, the backside of the body. So pick the variation that feels like the best fit for you. If you're a complete beginner, then we can come all the way over here to level 1, doing it in a chair, or standing for level 2, or with the arms bent for level 3, and also for level 4, the full Superman variation, okay? So pick the one that feels like the right fit for you. I'm going to cover one more move next, and then we're going to get ready for this 10-minute follow-along core routine, all right? But first, any questions? That was hard. Okay, great. Hey, listen, I never said that feeling better in your body was going to be a quick, 2-week, easy thing to do. That's what the fitness industry teaches you. Oh, you're going to get a core in 2 weeks. It's going to be incredible. Yeah, it's all fake. It's all lies. It doesn't work in the long run, and it's all built around shaming people and making them feel bad about themselves. And that's not what we do here. We help people feel good about themselves by teaching them how to feel good in their body and then giving them some mindset tricks to start showing up for their workouts as an act of appreciating their bodies rather than hating them, okay? Remember that. All right, the final move we're going to do today is going to focus on the transverse plane, all right? I told you this was probably the most important thing that most people don't focus on. And this is really, we want to train this because we want to create a core that makes it so that our body doesn't rotate when we don't want it to. And what that means is if I'm here and I lift my knee like this and I don't have a strong transverse plane, now I'm going to dip like this, I'm going to put my spine at risk, okay? So everything stays rigid in the middle while we do these movements, okay? The very first variation of this is going to be a high chair marching move. So you're going to put your hands on a chair like this. You're going to squeeze your glutes and your core, and all you're going to do is lift your knee up as high as you can and lift your other knee up as high as you can. Now, I wish I could ask you guys directly if you could guess what's the one cue I'm going to teach you right now, because you already learned it, but in a different position. And that's going to be, you're going to drag your hands towards your thighs. Just like when we were in the side plank, dragging the hands toward the thighs to activate, we're going to do the same thing here. It doesn't actually move. The chair doesn't move. The surface that you're on doesn't move. But we're going to be here. We're going to squeeze the glutes. And we're going to drag. And when we drag, turning those elbow pits towards the sky like this can be really helpful to stabilize the shoulders and really start to feel those lat muscles underneath the armpits get involved, okay? So keep everything tight here. Now that's going to make this move a whole lot harder. But again, remember, we're trying to make you stronger, even if the movements are a little harder than you want them to be, and safer by teaching you how to create the right tension and the right directions while you're doing these moves that should probably feel easy for most people, okay? So don't be afraid to pull real hard and do this easier movement instead of scale up to really focus on strengthening the core, all right? Now, if you're able to do that, then the next move is going to be plank marching. So we're going to bring that position all the way down to the ground. If you need to, on the in-between, you could always do low chair marching. You could always flip it around and do low chair marching. But I'm going to show you this for level 2, plank marching. So you're going to come into a plank, hands on the ground. If your hands hurt like this on the ground because you have tight wrists, you could do them on your knuckles, or if you get a pair of push-up handles, those are fantastic as well. But we're going to find that plank position. We're going to squeeze the glutes and the core. We're not going to let the back sag down like this, okay? So don't let the back sag down like this, and don't let the hips sag down like this. We want to squeeze the glutes and core and press the lower back up a little bit. Now we're going to do the same thing. We're going to march, 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 just like this, while we are pulling the hands back towards the thighs. We're not pushing the hands up and forward. We're pulling the hands back and down, activating those lat muscles. So get that plank right, squeeze the glutes, pull the hands back and down. Now lift the knee. Now lift the other knee. Now lift the knee, just like this. Okay? All right? That's the next variation. All right, the next variation, I'm going to move this chair away, really starts to add rotation into it, because right before that, we're just kind of lifting one leg at a time and adds a little bit of rotation, right? But it doesn't add a ton of rotation. This move is called the grasshopper, and it's going to add a whole lot more rotation, okay? So in a plank position, same thing, but instead of just bringing the knee up like this, I'm going to bring the leg all the way over to the side like this, and then back. I'm going to bring the leg all the way to the side like this, and back. I'm going to try to maintain the tight lats by pulling the hands back, and the tight core by squeezing my glutes and pushing that lower back up towards the sky, all right? I'm going to inhale here, exhale here, and go back and forth doing the grasshopper, just like this, all right? Now, if you can do that and you still feel good, then there's one more variation for you. This one's pretty tricky, all right? I told you this level 4 was going to be advanced for a lot of these. This one is called the sit out. Absolutely one of my favorite moves for a stronger core, especially in the transverse plane, and just overall body coordination. It's quite incredible. So you're going to come into a plank position, but this time with your knees bent. So you're going to start here on your knees, lift your knees up like this, push the lower back up towards the sky, and then what we're going to do is we're going to bring the leg out like a grasshopper, but now I'm going to lift this hand, rotate the foot, and come all the way out, like I'm sitting out. I'm sitting into a seated position. I'm going to come back to the start, into this position. And then I'm going to go back to the outside, then I'm going to come back to the start. I'm going to inhale as I go out. I'm going to exhale as I come back to the start. And just repeat just like that, okay? Absolutely one of my favorite moves. Again, this is a very advanced move. So if you're on the level 1 for all these, good for you. Stick at the level 1 because it's really important to build a strong foundation. I'll tell you about that in just a sec. So for this one, right, transverse plane, we can either do the level 1 high chair marching, level 2 marching on ground, grasshopper, or the sit out. All right, so I've taught you 4 different movements, and now we're going to put them together into a nice follow along routine. So here's how this is going to work, okay? We're going to do 40 seconds of work, followed by 20 seconds of rest on each of the 5 movements that we just went over. Now, I know we went over 4, but remember the side plank is on the right and the left. So we're going to do 5 movements, 40 seconds of work, 20 seconds of rest. We're going to do this for 2 rounds, okay? 2 rounds, and that means this core workout is going to take you 10 minutes. And what's really cool about this is that most people think it could take, 30 minutes or an hour, and you got to do cardio, and you got to do this, blah, 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 right? There's so much misinformation out there that is not helping people. Because the reality is, if you did a 10-minute core routine like this, 2 or 3 days a week, it would make a significant impact on how your body feels. It doesn't take forever to start changing the way you feel in your body. It just takes the willingness to actually show up and do it. And another reframe for you is I like to think of our workouts here at WeShape not as doing exercises and trying to crush it and do as much as we can. We're practicing movement. And so what that means is the quality of your movement is what matters the most. If you're moving well and you have amazing quality, then you're going to be safe and you're going to build strength. If you're moving poorly and you're doing a lot, maybe you'll feel some results initially, but you're going to hurt yourself in the long run. Okay, so build a strong foundation. Start with the level 1 and slowly graduate to 2s, 3s, and 4s. Okay, we got a question before we start the workout.
They didn't say which one, but they're talking about the neck hurting when they land on their back. Neck strain.
Okay, if your neck is strained when doing any of the leg raise variations, the ones that you see right here on the screen, feel free, oh thank you so much, to grab yourself a pillow and put that pillow under your head or a towel or something, right? This isn't about straining your neck and holding your neck up like this. It actually is more about learning how to relax the neck, drop the shoulders away from the ears. These muscles don't do a lot when we're doing this movement, and instead, we push the lower back in the ground and really focus on the core, okay? So if you're having neck issues, find a pillow or a towel rolled up, put it behind your head. Make the neck comfortable. It's not a neck move. Focus on the core, okay? All right, so as you can see on the screen, we have the timer right over here, 40 seconds. Once that counts down, it's gonna go 20 seconds and it'll count down for the rest intervals too. So for the first movement, we are gonna be focusing on one of these 4 variations, all right? On the first round, I'm gonna focus on levels 1 and level 2, and on the second round, I'm gonna focus on levels 3 and level 4, just to make sure you get a little bit of exposure to each one of these movements, okay? So, make sure you have some space on the floor. Are you ready? Are you ready to follow along with me? It's just gonna take 10 minutes. Like I said, you can get an amazing core workout in 10 minutes. In fact, I'll show you in a few minutes that you can get an amazing workout in just 10 minutes, all right? So, we're gonna start by lying down on the floor. I'll have my pillow here just for the people who feel nervous about putting a pillow there. It's okay, you can put the pillow there, right? And we're gonna get started with any variation that feels good for you here in a few seconds, all right? Everybody ready? Okay, 3, 2, 1, and go. Push the lower back into the ground, palms toward the sky. I'm gonna do level 1 first. Bring the knees up. All we're gonna do is drop the heel as we inhale, exhale as we come up. Drop the heel as we inhale, exhale as we come up, just like that. So focus on that breathing pattern. All right, the next thing, keep the lower back pushed into the ground the entire time. You can even check with your fingers. Don't let it lift up as you go back and forth, okay? And try to relax the neck and the shoulders, palms toward the sky, fingertips away from the ears, okay? Now, if this is too easy for you, you can switch to the 90-degree reverse crunch. We're trying to maintain a 90-degree bend with the knees, but make sure your lower back's pushing the ground the entire time, and we still maintain that inhale down, exhale up, just like that. You're almost there. 3, 2, 1, and rest. Okay, totally rest. Rest your body. The next move we're going to do is going to be the side plank. So I'm going to bring my chair into the scene so that I can make sure that we're doing the beginner variations, the level 1 and the level 2. And I'm going to start with the level 1 high chair side plank, okay? Let's get ready. You got 5 seconds left. Hand on the chair. Find your stance. 2, 1, and go. So hold that position, all right? Now remember, hand pushes towards the thigh, just like this. And we inhale and exhale. Now, if you find yourself rolling your shoulder forward like this and turning your elbow up like that, do the opposite. Elbow pit towards the sky, this way. That's gonna help activate the lats more. So rotate it outward like this and hold that position, okay? Pull the hand towards the thigh as much as you can. Now remember, if this is too easy for you, then we can go to the next variation. We can spin it around and we can just do it on the low chair, just like this, okay? Now keep holding that side plank, breathe shallow, maintain that tight, rigid core, that bracing we talked about. 3, 2, 1, and rest. Rest. Shake out the arm, shake out that side of the body. Next, we're gonna move to the opposite side of the body, and we're gonna do the side plank on the opposite side, okay? And I'll do the same thing I just did there. We'll start on the high chair, and then we'll go to the low chair, okay? Okay. Woo. Take a deep breath. Get a sip of water. Yeah, don't forget about breathing here. So hand on the chair, find your stance. Come here. We're going to breathe shallow when we're holding a move like this. So it's inhale, exhale, inhale, exhale. We're trying to maintain tightness, so we're not inhaling all the way or exhaling all the way. We're just breathing shallow as we hold this position. And really, the focus I want you to focus on here is dragging your hand towards your thigh like this, okay? And remember, if it's too hard or easy on the high chair, we can make it harder by scaling up and going to the low chair, just like this, squeezing that lat, squeezing our core, keeping that breath shallow. And same thing, turning the elbow pit upward like this to maintain good shoulder external rotation. All right, almost there. 3, 2, 1, and rest. Great job. We're through 3 of the 5 movements on the first round. You got 20 seconds of rest right now. Now we're going to focus on the posterior chain, the back side of the core. We're going to do some Superman raises, okay? So one of two variations. Right now, actually, you can do all four, any of the four variations, but I'm going to show you two different variations. We're going to start in the chair, and then I'll go to standing, okay? So start, 3, 2, 1. Knees out, feet out, arms in front of you. Make sure your knees go in the same direction as your toes, and lift the arms overhead. Hold for a second, and come back down, okay? And remember, we're only bending as far forward as we can with a nice flat back. If we start to round our back, you can go more upright. This makes it easier. Coming down further makes it harder, okay? We're going to inhale up, hold, exhale down. Just like that, okay? Now, if this is too easy for you, remember, we can come to a standing position. We can bring the butt back. We can bring the hands right here, and we could do inhale, lift arms overhead, and back down, just like this. Inhale, arms overhead, and then back down. A couple more reps. Inhale, squeeze those muscles, and then back down. And just like before, you can bend over forward more. It makes it even harder. And rest. Shake it out. Awesome job. Finally, we're going to work on the transverse plane. And there's two ways that I'm going to show you this. I'm going to go for level 1 and level 2 right now, but feel free to pick any level for this core workout. You got 10 more seconds of rest. We're going to do high chair marching, and then I'm going to show you some plank marching as well in this round. And then we're going to go and do this one more time around to complete this workout. All right, let's go. Hands on the chair on the surface, core tight, drag the hands back towards you, okay? Lift one knee, lift the other knee. Inhale and exhale on each step. So inhale, exhale, inhale, exhale, inhale, exhale, and really pull the hands towards the thighs the entire time, creating that tension, okay? It's really important in terms of making more strength and more stability. And if you can, you want to go up to level 2 and come into that plank on ground, we can do it this way. Back and forth, slow and controlled, dragging the hands, activating the lats, inhaling up, exhaling down just like this. Tall to the top of the head. Try to relax your neck as much as you can and externally rotate those shoulders. Bring the elbow pits forward, all right? And rest. Round number 1 is done. Let's take it back to the top. I want you to pick a movement that feels like the right fit for your body. There's no shame in doing level 1 or even pausing and doing level 1 even slower and more comfortably for yourself. It's about building a strong foundation, okay? I'll be talking about level 2 or level 3 and level 4 on this round for all the different movements so you can get some examples of that too. Let's get ready, let's go. Okay, so for level 3, diamond under the butt, and we're gonna drop the legs down, point the toes, and back up. And remember, if your hip is popping when you're doing this, turn your toes to the outside, open your legs a little bit, and you can create a little bit of external rotation. If you're in the 90-degree bend, you can do like this, drive the knees out, okay? Just like that. That should help with the hip pop, okay? And if you can, let's come down to that hollow position, arms overhead. This is our final advanced one. We're doing V-ups, inhaling as we come down, exhaling as we come up, just like this, trying to make it as controlled as possible as we complete this. 3, 2, 1, and rest. Awesome job. Okay, 20 seconds of rest. We're going to the side plank, and this time I'm going to focus on the level 3 and 4 variations, the kneeling side plank and the full side plank. Now, the most important thing here, just like before, dragging your hand towards your thigh, just like this. You got a quick question? Point your fingertips this direction, away from your body, okay? Just like this when we're doing this movement. Come up to that side plank. So kneeling side plank, start like this. Fingertips pointed this way. Elbow pit pointed this way too. The pit of the elbow. So your elbows pointed kind of backwards like this. Dragging the hand towards the legs like this, squeezing the glutes. That's what's going to maintain nice tension as we do the kneeling side plank. And remember, we can scale this up by staggering our feet and doing a staggered stance plank like this, side plank, or we can stack our feet on top like this and hold this position instead, while maintaining that tension of the hand coming back there and that external rotation of the shoulder, right? Again, breathing shallow, inhale, exhale at your own pace, trying to maintain core tension the whole time. Woo! All right. Shake it out, and let's go ahead and do the side plank on the opposite side. We got another quick question. Can you blend levels? Yes, you can blend levels, but it would be much better, in my opinion, to pick a level that you can sustain for the whole time and focus on form, not intensity, okay? Form first, intensity second. So come up to that kneeling side plank, fingertips up, drag the hand towards the thighs, get that lat active, turn the elbow pit up like this, tall to the top of the head, then breathe shallow, okay? Also make sure to squeeze those glutes. Don't let your butt stick out, right? I like to imagine like I'm between 2 walls. And I'm really stuck between these 2 walls, and I'm not twisting like this as I'm holding the side plank, right? So everything is in one straight line. And again, if you want to scale up, you can come into that staggered stance side plank like this. You want to make it even harder and create a little more balance. Stack the feet on top of each other and hold it just like this. Squeeze the core, breathe shallow. You're almost there. Come on, 3, 2, 1, and rest. You can do this. You're almost there. You only got 2 moves left, and then we're through this 10-minute workout, right? So let's focus on our posterior chain, our back muscles. We're going to do Supermans, and I'm going to show you level 3 and level 4 this time. But again, feel free to do any level that feels like a good fit for you, okay? So come on down. If you're doing level 3, start with your arms bent at 90 degrees, and we're going to extend, hold for a second, and come back down. Extend, hold for a second, and come back down. All right? Inhaling up, exhaling down. Inhaling up, squeezing and holding for a second, exhaling down, just like that, okay? Now, if this is too easy for you, you can always straighten your arms, thumbs stay toward the sky, keep your head tall. I don't want you jerking your neck up like this, and just lift up, thumbs toward the sky, and then back down. Same thing, inhale as we come up, exhale as we come down, all right? 10 seconds left. Don't give up on yourself now. Scale down if you have to. Take your time. Remember, form first, intensity second, but let's try to keep you moving, and rest. Okay, one final movement today. We're going back to our rotational movements. We're going to do a move called the grasshopper or the sit-out. Again, if you're on high chair marching, you can also do low chair marching, which isn't on the screen here. That's a great way to scale this as well, okay? So let's start with grasshoppers, coming into a nice plank position like this, squeezing the glutes, and let's go. One leg to the outside, come back to the center, one leg to the outside. We're keeping those elbow pits twisted forward, and we're going to focus on our form first, intensity second, okay? I'm going to make sure to keep my lower back flat too. I don't want to let my lower back round down like this. None of this stuff right here. Okay, lower back gets pushed up as we come from side to side, or if you're just marching like this. And if you're doing the sit-outs, bringing the knees more forward, rotating, bringing the leg up. Inhale here, exhale here. Inhale here, exhale here. All right? Find that rhythm. Make sure the shoulders stay open as we open the chest. You're almost there. 3, 2, last little bit. 1, and rest. Great job. I love the confetti and the timer there, by the way, team. That was awesome. All right. I really hope that you had a fantastic core workout there. This is pretty cool because, like I said, most people think you have to do so much to develop a strong core. But today, I showed you the 3 planes of motion and 5 moves, really 4 moves because one of them was left and right, that can pretty much tackle every single thing you need to build a stronger core, okay? So you could practice these 4 moves over and over again, and they're going to help you develop a strong core and feel so much better in your body, all right? I'm going to take a sip of water here. You take a sip of water, and I got one more thing for you before you go tonight, okay? Now, you can come back to our live movement session and follow along to this core training workout. You can do this, a few times, but we are going to get rid of this, and if you're a YouTube member of ours, you'll be able to see it, but if you're not a YouTube member of ours, you won't be able to see it after a few days, right? But I wanted to tell you something about something different that we do. So at WeShape, one of the reasons why we do what we do is because what I just did is I took you through a progression of movements to help you feel better in your body, each one a little bit more challenging than the last one. But the hardest thing I think I had when I first started trying to do online programs is that I was a personal trainer. And what I believe a personal trainer should do is make sure that every workout is built for your client, is built for the person you're dealing with, right? Because you have specific needs. You need specific moves to help you build strength. You have specific areas you're tight that you need to work through flexibility on. And you have specific things that you need to work on in order to make your body feel stronger, safer, and ultimately make your body feel good again. And so when we started WeShape, our goal was, how do we create an experience that feels like having myself as your personal trainer, but without that cost that's associated with personal trainers? And this is a big deal because I want to finish this part with a story. I had a client named Michelle a long time ago. And Michelle was an amazing client of mine. She got incredible results over the course of like 6 months. And I was mind blown. Her core strength especially was insanely strong. And then she said, I'm going to go on and do my own thing. She went off and did her own thing. She wasn't focusing on the specific things that I was recommending to her. 6 months later, I see her in a grocery store, and she was like, oh, my back hurts, and her posture had slipped, and everything had fell off, right? And I had this moment of realizing that no matter what, the most important thing is that you have a program that was created for you and that you're able to do that program consistently. Consistency is so important, and so is customization. And so when we created WeShape, that's what we wanted to do. And I'm super happy to tell you that over the last 3 years, and after spending millions of dollars developing this software, we've built a program that we call the WeShape Coach, okay? And here's why the WeShape Coach is so cool. It acts like a personal trainer, giving you exactly what your body needs for your workouts, for your stretching program, but again, without the cost of being a personal trainer. Because Michelle was paying me $1,200 a month or $14,400 a year to be her trainer. That's a lot of money, and most people can't afford that. And so I want to make sure that people have access to the same high-level training of people like Michelle, but for a fraction of the cost. So here's what WeShape does, okay? So you start out with WeShape, and what we do is we start asking you questions about who you are and how your body feels, right? So we might ask you questions about your posture, and we might ask you questions about your flexibility, right? All in all, we ask you dozens of questions to help you learn how to feel better in your body. Once we ask you those questions, it's just like a personal trainer. We're going to say, what's your goals? What's your moves? Where are you tight? Where are you weak? And then we're going to say, let's build a program for you. So Coach, the WeShape Coach, builds a program just for you, giving you the right exposure to the right moves at the right time. And even better than that, if I wrote a program for you and you walked into the gym and I just said, we're going to do this program exactly as I wrote it, then guess what? It's still not going to be appropriate for you because every day is a little different. So what WeShape's Coach does is you start a movement routine with Coach, it loads Coach, and then what you're going to do is say, how did you sleep last night? If I slept bad last night and my energy level, my body feels tired, and I only have 30 minutes, do you think I should be doing nothing but hard movements? Probably not. So Coach actually adjusts your routine in real time. And with those answers, what I'm doing is a short warm-up, a short workout, and half the time spent on stretching, okay? But here's what's really cool about Coach. Let's pretend the exact opposite is true, okay? Let's pretend I feel great. I slept great. My body feels great. And I got 20 minutes today. Well, guess what's going to happen? Instead of it focusing on stretching and recovery, Coach is going to know how I feel right now, and it's going to create a workout that is mainly focused on the movements in my program that are going to give me the most bang for my buck because my body is ready. I'm recovered and ready for it. So the purpose of Coach was to give you an experience of feeling like you have a personal trainer, but for a fraction of that cost. Now, another thing that's really cool about this is we just went over some of these movements. Like right here, I have the Superman progression that we just went through. And I told you how progressions are super essential. You really shouldn't be focusing on how much weight you can lift or you can do on the machines or how much time you can spend doing cardio and things like that. Instead, it's about sophisticating the movements like we just did in this workout routine. And this workout routine had 4 levels. But here's what I want to show you, is that in WeShape, during our workouts, a lot of our movements have 10, 15, 20 different levels, okay? So instead of just having level 1, which here is level 5, level 7, or 2, which here is level 7, level 3, which is 9, and level 4, which is 11, we break it down into 12 different levels. And why this is really cool is when you have these micro progressions, it makes it almost unnoticeable as you scale from one variation to the next, making it a lot easier and again, a lot safer for you to gain that strength, flexibility, balance, and coordination that your body needs to feel good again, okay? Now, the next thing I really wanted to focus on is the workouts themselves. My team and I have worked so hard on this because it's one thing to tell somebody, hey, dorsiflex your toes towards your knees in order to stabilize your knee joint. Nobody cares. Nobody knows what you're talking about. But if I say, lift your toes towards your nose, then you're going to do it. And so we made this visual teaching system integrated into our workout routines to make sure you knew like the breathing patterns, to show you, for example, here, to scale down to a more simple variation if this one feels more challenging, right? And then also to give you those form cues and motivations that you need to succeed. Teaching you how to do every move with perfect form, like as you can see here, pushing the lower back into the ground, making sure to give you those constant reminders because, remember, when you move your body better, you feel better in your body. And even cooler than this, we don't want a workout that doesn't adjust to you in real time. And so as you complete each movement in your workout, it's going to check in with you and say, do you want to scale down or scale up? If I say down, literally in the same workout, that next move is going to be scaled down. If I say up, it's going to be scaled up. So it's really a way to create more flexibility, get more real-time feedback from you, and make sure your workout stays personalized to you the entire time. Again, my goal was to make sure that this program felt like you had a trainer right next to you. So when you finish the interval, you might be like, that's too hard. Scale down, and you'll get that differently the next time, okay? Now, we also have on top of that a supportive, connective community and live calls that I do with myself, Dr. Lisa, to make sure that you have the support you need to succeed. So WeShape is so much more than just a workout. We even have stretching routines that are personalized to you. I didn't even touch on the stretching routines yet, but this is a great way to gain flexibility in between your workouts. And like I said, these workouts last 10, 20, 30, 45, or 60 minutes. You get to choose. And we recommend people start with the 10-minute routines so you can build that habit muscle, because remember, consistency really, really matters. And so if you've enjoyed this core routine and you're thinking to yourself, well, what am I going to do next? How can I actually feel different in my body? But you don't know where to start. That's why we designed WeShape and WeShape's Coach in the first place, to show you exactly what your body needs, not anybody else's. Every program that comes out is different for every single member we have, because we want to create a personalized experience like nothing else that actually delivers results of feeling better in your body like nothing else out there, other than working with a personal trainer, okay? So if you want to give WeShape a shot, I wanted to give everybody who's watching this live core movement session a special deal right now. So if you go to WeShape.com/core, there's going to be a special deal on that page. Now, what that deal is that normally our members pay $39.95 a month, which is like $479 a year to get access to WeShape, okay? But if you go to WeShape.com/core, you're going to save almost $300, and you'll be able to get a whole year's worth of WeShape for $199. So go to that page. It's going to take you to this page right here. It's going to tell you some more information about Coach, about WeShape, how it works, and it's going to give you the opportunity to sign up for that special discount. But remember, this is a limited time frame for just the people who are live on this core live movement session. So again, if you enjoyed this, I promise that you'll absolutely love being a part of the WeShape community. And if you do decide to join, make sure you join one of my live calls next week even, and say hi, say you joined because of the core live movement session, and I really hope to see you in there. I think it'll be awesome. So yeah, give that a shot. Go to WeShape.com/core. Otherwise, I really hope you enjoyed coming to this live core movement session. I hope you learned a lot about the core. I hope you learned some amazing moves, some amazing progressions as well. And remember, you can come back to this video and try this core routine again, for the next 3 to 5 days, and then we're going to make it private for our YouTube members only. So make sure you give it a shot for a couple days. And then if you want, come check out WeShape, WeShape.com/core. I hope to see you in there, and I hope you have an amazing evening and that your core feels a little bit stronger today. All right? Thanks for watching.